How's it going, guys? JJ Wilson here, and for this audio recording or video, I was going to do a review for the anime that I watched, which was recommended by a sub of mine. Also subscribe to his channel on YouTube, Gaming Geek. Shout out to this guy. He recommended anime about a month ago, and I've been watching it behind the scenes. And this anime is known as Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress. So Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress, created by Wit Studio. And this I think this anime was about 2016 and when it first debuted, so it's been about 4 years. So I'm like 4 years late into watching this show. And apparently there's about 3 movies after this, so there's more to the story than what I left off at with episode 12, and I have to say, it was definitely better than I anticipated. I definitely saw the comparisons that people were making with Attack on Titan, but I also saw comparisons for the show where to me it looked like a Japanese, Industrial Revolution version of The Last of Us. I could see it that way. And also, this story was much better told than GBID, which is also a post-apocalyptic anime that came out early this year. And everybody that saw that knew it was like a total disaster, unless you're just, you're just such a weeb till you didn't care, as long as you like, crazy monsters getting slain by samurai. I guess, that's your steez or whatever. So that's that. Overall, I thought the story was very, very well told, and basically it deals with 2 people, and these 2 people are very unique compared to the humans and the monsters, which are actually undead people, and they were taken over by a virus called Kabaneri, or that's what they call the people when they get infected by this virus, Kabaneri. And so the 2 people that I'm talking about is the protagonist, the hero of the show, Ikoma, and the girl that she was also like the co-protagonist, but she ended up becoming like part of the enemy. Well, not in her own, it's not like she wanted to be, but she kind of was forced into it. Her name is Mume. And Mume, when she first comes into the scene, guys, she is incredible. Like, the way she came in and just started slaying these animals left and right. The way she was coming in slaying Kabaneri like left and right was just something crazy. Like, it was like, wow. This girl got mad skills, and she was trained by these group of army people that, like, they were not actually part of the country military, but they were kind of like experts in slaying these particular people, these Kabaneri. And it turns out that she had a mentor, and he doesn't show up until like halfway into the series, because the first enemy obviously is the Kabaneri people themselves, and eventually there's like a new enemy within the Kabaneri where you have a person that's like the heart of this entire being. I forget exactly the name of it, but it's like a bunch of Kabaneri joined together and it forms like this giant monster creature or whatever. And basically the way that the people in this country call Hinomoto, which is the fictional name of the country, which is Japan basically, but that's the name of the country. And so the way these people live, so they have to build these colonies, right? And this is the similar reference with Attack on Titan. So they got to build these colonies to where they have to protect themselves from the Kabaneri, and the only way they can travel safely is by railroad. They have to get on these large locomotive these large locomotive vehicles, and they have to like transfer from one gated colony city to another, and that's the surest way that they can get there. And of course, in between they have problems and things of that nature, but eventually, the community that was run by Ayame, and she's like the daughter of this warlord guy, not a warlord, but the man that ran that train, and eventually he died because he turned into one of those things. And it was kind of sad too, but she eventually steps up and becomes a leader, and You know, she had her hardships because people didn't trust her. She felt like she was too soft and things like that. But over time, she became a more firm leader with confidence and with character build up. And just going back to Ikoma. So in the beginning, like Ikoma, just he was pretty much a weakling, man, because all the guy really had was the gun that he was inventing to stop the Kabane, and it wasn't a surefire thing that it was going to work. And he had a friend and a helper in, I believe is what's the guy's name? Okay, I had to look his name up. His name was Takumi, and that was Ikoma's assistant. And so with his help, they were able to create this weapon called the piercing gun. And what this does is it attacks the weak point of the Kabane. And the Kabane, their structural framework is their outer skin is hardened. And there's only a few ways you can kill them. You can kill them by cutting off their head, obviously, attacking the head, or you can immobilize them by cutting off the legs, and lastly, you can shoot them dead at the center of their heart, which turns gold, and it's protected by an iron layer. And so the piercing gun was very effective in that way, that it pierced the armor of the Kabane. And so another reason why Ikoma made these weapons was that eventually the Kabane, they would eventually turn human again, sort of. I think that's what he was trying to aim for. And so a few times he was able to do it, but unfortunately, you know, during that very first episode, he gets bitten, and you see him. He has to, in order to save his own skin, his own life, he has to hook up in this crazy machine. It was absurd, man. Like, he had to choke his neck to the point where the virus wouldn't spread to its brain, because that's how it can pretty much control you and make you undead. And so he put on this choker-like object while trying to, you know, keep the virus from spreading to his head, and he was able to do it. And this is how he became what was called a Kabaneri, which is the name of the show. And it's pretty much a human that's like almost Kabane, but not quite. Like, they could walk amongst the people, they could still regain their humanity, their consciousness, things of that nature, while, you know, having these Kabane abilities. So it was crazy. And Mume had the same thing happen to her when she was younger. And so the dynamic between those two, Ikoma and Mume, was very interesting, because like in the beginning she had a way against Ikoma. She was beating him up and just, you know, belittling him and stuff like that. But then over time, you know, as he got more accustomed to his abilities, you know, Mume gradually began to respect him. And you could say there was a romance, you know, kind of brewing up between them, but you could tell that they shared that bond because they had the ability to be Kabane while regaining their humanity. And let me touch on Kusuru for a bit. Kusuru was this dope samurai guy that was pretty much the right-hand man of Ayame's father, and later Ayame herself. And of course, he has romantic feelings towards her, but throughout the show, he never really says it though. And of course, he does not like any Kabane whatsoever in the beginning, and like most of the people in that train, he didn't trust them. He didn't trust Ikoma and Mume. But you know, they made themselves useful when the time came for it. When the time came to, you know, take action and fight back against the Kabane and do the right things, and by proving people that, you know, they weren't these evil, double-crossing beings that they were. You know, Kusuru gradually respected Ikoma, especially in the latter part of the show where he almost got killed by Mume. And I'm gonna touch on Biba in a minute, but the point I'm trying to make here is Kusuru, like, he knew at that point he respected Ikoma for doing all the things that they did to help his people in the train. And so Kusuru respected Ikoma to where he told him, "Hey, look, man, you need to snap out of your depression, because our country is gonna get taken over by Kabane if you don't get your act together." You know, and he had to tell him, like, "Hey, so and so is still alive. You know, she's not dead." Right? And when he finally, you know, told him about that, and then there was a doctor who I believe he was the engineer of the black blood and the white blood. The black blood was a formula created by Biba, who's the villain. He's the villain of the show, actually, I believe. And the white blood is kind of like the antidote to that black blood. So basically, the black blood was designed to make the host. When they take that serum or whatever, it creates like a vessel for Kabaneri to like hold itself, and then it creates this giant monster thing, and it's just holy crap. Like, you don't want to mess with that thing. So either it turns you into like a upgraded Kabaneri to where you're just killing everybody, like he did that one chick, Hobori, I believe her name was. You see her within the 8th or the 9th episode, or it turns you into this giant, creature that hoards thousands of Kabaneri, and it protects you while you're attacking, your foes and stuff. So it gets wild now. Yeah. So the white blood, it does the opposite. It nullifies what the black blood's ability is. So that's what Ikoma used to help save Mumei's life at the end of the show. And before he does that, he has to confront Biba, this dude right here. Oh boy, this guy was a beast. This dude, I mean that in every way, man. Inside and out, this dude was a beast, man. On the exterior, he looks like this, handsome, upstanding individual, because initially when you first see him midway through the show, like in episode 7, like he's portrayed as a hero because he was fighting the Kabaneri on the front lines, because the Shogun had a main army, and that was his son. Biba was the son of the Shogun, and he was basically ordered him and his guys, they said it was up to like 400,000 men or whatever, to go out there and fight on behalf of the nation against this serious threat, the Kabaneri. And at some point, Biba developed his philosophy. He honed it further, and apparently this took years too, because this is how he discovered Mumei. So they have been fighting for years, y'all. And he developed this philosophy of, this Darwinistic theory of only the strong shall survive and the weak have to perish, basically. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? That sounds like Makoto Shishio off of Rurouni Kenshin. Somewhat similar concepts. And so eventually his goal, his true intention was he was going to take over the nation with the use of the Kabaneri. After he kills his dad, and he does do that, the Shogun, he uses Ayame in a way that, he had to take over the train, and she had to cooperate with him in order to safely get her people to the capital, which is where his dad was. And eventually they had this, they played it off like he was captured or whatever. He had to play it off kind of like he had committed a crime that the Shogun didn't agree with, because they did hear about that incident that happened before Biba's army took over her train. So they kind of had to frame it that way, but it was just a ruse. It was a trick to lower his father's defenses, and that way, Biba could spread that Kabaneri virus on him, and his father turned to Kabaneri. The next thing you know, everybody started slaying each other up. It was crazy. That scene was nuts, right? And so, yeah, that's Biba's philosophy, and he influenced Mumei into thinking that too. And this is one of the things that Ikoma and Mumei kind of got into quarrels about at times, was that Ikoma's like, why do you think, who told you about, the weak deserve to die, right? Who told you that? What makes you think that they all deserve to die when they haven't even given a second chance or a third chance to prove themselves otherwise? They have a right to live just like strong people do. And she had to tell him why and things like that. And Ikoma eventually finds out the source of all this flawed reasoning, and it was from Biba. And so at some point during the show, guys, Mumei is told by Biba to, at one point, take the train keys away from Ayame, and she failed to do that, and she, Mumei had to be under more careful surveillance by Bibe's men. And then at some point during the show, he was able to get Mumei alone in the same room where he turned the other lady into an enhanced Kabaneri. He used the black blood to turn her into that vessel monster thing by the end of the show. And this was like right after he commanded Mumei to, attack Ikoma and and it looked like Ikoma was dead, but he wasn't dead at that point. So dude, it was wild. the way he was able to control Mumei's life and have her think that, you know, she was useless, and she, you know, she didn't do what he said and everything. And I think at one point at the end of the season, he was like, your kindness is your weakness, Mumei. He actually said that about her. But yeah, the inevitable fight between Biba and Ikoma was great, because Ikoma proved to him that, you know, he proved to him that even weak people can rise to the occasion. They can rise to the challenge, and they can stop someone that's strong and who thinks is superior when they're not superior, when really he's just acting like a coward because he wasn't able to face his demons, and he was never able to forgive his father. But that's why Ikoma felt like he was a coward in that sense. So he wasn't really a strong guy after all. He was just pretending to be, that type of deal. So yeah, Biba, but Ikoma does not kill Biba. It was actually Mumei, and this was after Ikoma damn near lost his life by saving Mumei when he ejected the serum inside of her to be free of that Kabaneri bonus that she was in. So that and once Mumei became two, you know, she realized that Ikoma was down, and then that gave her the opportunity to kill Biba, because he was too focused on trying to, you know, give the finishing blow to Ikoma. And this is how Biba lost his life. So that's the anime show. I know there's some other tidbits I left out, but I did the best that I could to try to remember some key points in the show. But if you haven't seen it, I will recommend it to people to check it out. So yes, do check out Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress. I will try to watch the movies later before the year is out, or maybe going into 2021 when I get a chance. Hopefully I'll have this video up pretty soon, this audio recording. And I will see you all next time. And do let me know in the comment section if you saw the show already or not. Appreciate it, guys. I'm out.